Hello everybody, Captain VFC here, today looking at this, the Airfix 1/72 scale Gloster Gladiator. I held a poll not that long ago for which of my relatively easy Airfix kits I should build next, and this won, and I was very happy because it's the one that I secretly wanted to build all along. So the general moral of the story is, if I post a poll, please vote for the one that I actually want to build because it's more likely to be built. I have actually made two of this kit before, one being Belgian, one being RAF, but both of them were at a time when I was using enamel paints and I was brush painting, so I was keen to use an airbrush with acrylic paints in line with my current builds on a kit that I was already familiar with. These two builds do show in the unboxing video, which has already been published, of this kit, so if you want to see what they look like, then please jump to that video and have a little look. But for now, let's see how I built this beauty that is revolving in front of you. According to the box, we have a tool date of 2013, and there are 51 parts included. You don't need all of those because they include options for ski-equipped versions, for example. Different propeller blades as well, depending on the mark you're making. There are two decal schemes included, the Norwegian one on the box and the one that you'll see I've built, and a recommended retail price of £11.99 at time of recording, but you can often pick it up for about 10% off that. Construction begins with the decals. No, obviously it doesn't, that was a joke. It starts with the interior, and this interior is rather skeletal. You have a very basic floor, basic arm module bits, and then a headrest, and then you just precariously stick the seat on that. I can't imagine the Gladiator would have been particularly comfortable to fly. It certainly feels like a no-frills aircraft, more so than other military planes do, but anyway. There is then the control column and one other rod, stick, control thing, I don't know. The rudder pedals are moulded on, so it's not the rudder pedals. I don't know, it's another thing that you stick in. And that is pretty much it for the actual cockpit area, because as you'll see later, some of it is included on the nose section. However, the interior does require these machine guns to be slotted through the little holes, and this is a perfect fit. I imagine if there were any flash on here, this would be an absolute pain in the backside. However, there is none, so that is good. And then this is the nose section that I mentioned. It has the struts for the centre of the wing column, and the first time I made a Gladiator, I just completely forgot how to read instructions and then shouted about how bad this kit was because they didn't fit properly, and then I realised I'd put one of them just backwards. Yeah, just remember to actually read the instructions and process them. Anyway, they are tested at this stage on the top wing, which is obviously still part of the sprue, but it is always good when dealing with biplanes to test at any opportunity you can to make sure it's going to sit squarely. The interior was then all painted with silver. It was actually a rattle can silver, so it's a Tamiya silver. Just blitz the whole thing before the Hataka interior grey-green comes out. This is blue line, so brush ready. It can be thinned for airbrushing, but on something like this, there really is no point in airbrushing it. So just brush painting some interior grey-green on the hatch and panel immediately to the side of the pilot. We then have some Vallejo black, again just for brushing, nice and simple, and that goes on the guns. Now, strictly speaking, should the guns be gunmetal? Because, you know, the clue is in the name. Yeah, probably. Can you see anything through this canopy? No. So black. Black will do. And other things needed painting black as well, including the seat. I assume it's black, it's what the instructions said. And also the instrument panel area, which is on that same nose piece as we saw earlier. This area of black would later be given a fine coat of gloss varnish just to help the decals set nicely, but you'll see them going on a little bit later. Because whilst that is drying, you get the opportunity to glue the fuselage together. So rather than have to finish the interior, gluing the fuselage halves together at this stage kind of gives you something to do whilst waiting for bits to dry, which is very, very, very handy. And overall, the construction at this point is absolutely fine. There's no flash, there's just good fitting parts. Everything went together really, really well. What I'm doing here with the cotton bud is just pushing the floor to make sure it lines up on both sides. So I obviously glued the fuselage the interior to one half of the fuselage, and then was pushing in to make sure it fit the other. You can see what I'm doing. I'm struggling to explain because my brain has apparently shut down. Anyway, under the decals. As I mentioned, I had glossed varnished, and these things are really tiny, but the gloss varnish just helps them move into place a lot better, as does poking them with a very small stick. You essentially have 4, 2 on either side, 1 in the middle top, 1 on the middle bottom, and at the end of it, this is what it should look like. That was then dabbed dry and given a coat of matte varnish for protection. Again, I don't think any of this can be seen through the canopy, so you don't really need to put in that much effort here, and you can get detail sets for this kit, but the interior ones always just seem pointless because it's so small, and so many of those aircraft that you can get these detail sets are so small that for the interior I just don't see the point. Anyway, the nose piece is now on, which completes the interior, and the rest of the aircraft can pretty much fall together, starting with the horizontal stabilisers and the rudder. Unlike some kits, the horizontal stabilisers do not have posable elevators. Is that a problem? No, I don't need to pose the elevators, but it's just something that you may be interested to know. The rudder, however, I was going to call it a rotor then. It's not a rotor, is it? It's a rudder. The rudder is technically posable. It doesn't mention it in the instructions, but you can just have it limply leaning to one side, which I guess is as close as you're going to get. But as none of the other control surfaces are posable, I don't really see why you would do this. You'd have to go cutting everything up to get everything else posable anyway. Right, the engine comes next. The engine is the fiddliest part of this kit. You have the base, then the main engine block, as you can see there. You've then got this final piece, which has the pin for the propeller blades. That then carefully goes on. All of this is easily indented so that you can work out which way to pose it. But it is still fiddly, and that's not even it complete. There are extra bits that are going to be put on there as well. For now, I'm leaving it, and then the rest of the assembly is just really the undercarriage legs and this extra gumph around the engine cowling. At this stage, the cowling was not glued in, it was just being placed to allow other things to line up around it, including the undercarriage legs and whatever. The cowling was painted separately, but of course the engine needed to be painted first. There is a mistake, I think, in the end result. I say mistake. I made a mistake. That will be visible at the end. It will go into that when we get there. The only other things really to glue on at this stage were the machine gun pods under the wings and the tail wheel. So that is the aircraft now able to sit down, and we can prep it for painting. The Hataka blue line comes out again. We've got medium sea grey, just thinned with some Hataka thinner. The aircraft would be lazily primed in just Halford's black primer. I know it didn't look perfect, but it doesn't bother me. It's just put it down, spray it blackish, and we'll go from there. The grey could then be free-handed on. I haven't tried to do anything fancy with this. There's not any pre-shading or anything like that. And next comes the Hataka Ocean Grey. I have put tape on the bottom surfaces of the wings just to protect them. I haven't, however, masked the divide between the medium sea grey and the ocean grey on the fuselage. The main reason for me masking the underneath of the wings is because I've noticed one of my bad habits is to not check angles when I'm spraying the top colour, and to just get just a little bit of a streak, a little bit of smoke effect of the wrong colour. Whereas if I'm consciously doing a divide, that's not the problem. So this is just me adapting to the number of mistakes I've made in the past. So I don't want a dead hard edge between the top and the bottom colours, but nor do I want loads of paint bleed around the bottom. So that's why I've masked it. And then much like the medium sea grey, I'm just spraying it on with a vaguely mottled effect just to try and give it a little bit of texture without going too far down the weathered route. Then the entire aircraft is masked with blue tack, or the camouflage pattern is masked with blue tack, and we have some Vallejo dark green. You may be wondering why I'm going for Vallejo dark green and not Hataka. Well, it's because the Hataka paint solidified about a year ago, nearly ruined the model, and as such is unusable. So I've had to mix brands, and I'm using Vallejo here. Exactly the same technique as before, although I do find that this paint is very thin, and here is where we start seeing the effect of one of the issues that I mentioned that I'm not quite happy with for the end result. It is to do with the green. Bear that in mind. And also worth noting that I really don't like masking, whether that's with tape or with blue tack, but getting the blue tack sausages around the struts and things didn't really prove a problem in this case. That all said and done, next is the decals, and the sheet I've divided into 3 sections. The middle one can be discarded because that's for the Norwegian scheme. We have the stencil details on the top listed here as common. There are quite a lot of them for a small aircraft. Good lord, this took ages. And then we have the actual aircraft in question, which is of course the RAF Met flight. The entire aircraft has been gloss varnished with some Vallejo gloss varnish. That makes life a little bit easier. And also you can see I didn't film peeling off the tape or anything, but not the tape, the blue tack. I think the camouflage pattern came out really well in the end. A couple of minor bits of bleed, or minor areas of bleed, but nothing really worth talking about. Yeah, it was fine. I did very well. I'm patting myself on the back, but it looked good. The decals are, of course, Cartograph. They are standard quality for Airfix. There are no problems. I didn't use any decal solution on these. You can if you like. I tend to use Microset and Sol when the texture of the aircraft is quite complicated, but this one is fairly smooth, even with the patterns on the wings, so I didn't feel that was necessary. So they all went on absolutely fine with just water, and then the whole aircraft was matte varnished. The canopy then needs to be glued on, and yes, I'm using Revell Contactor for the canopy. Yeah, deal with it. It's a high risk solution. If I get one tiny drop of glue in the wrong place, the canopy is ruined forever. But hey, that's just the way I roll, and in this case, all is fine. This canopy would then be painted separately, just with a small paintbrush, using the same interior green first, and then the top colours. The engine has also now been painted. You saw it covered earlier with blue tack. That was just given a quick coat of black, then gunmetal, and then the top bit here picked out in silver as per the instructions. I think it looks really nice. There's a tiny bit of dry brushing done as well. Probably should have done more. And also done separately was the cowling, and this is where the colour combination went wrong. As you saw earlier, I primed the entire aircraft in Halford's black. However, I then sprayed ocean grey over the entire aircraft, but I didn't over the cowling, meaning the green has gone on the black rather than on the ocean grey, which has given a tonal difference in the cowling. Is it the end of the world? No, it's just something which stands out a little bit. And for whatever reason, I didn't film the cowl ring, which was in this case a mix of silver, a dash of brown, and some copper in there. Is it copper? It's gold. No, it's gold. Just all Vallejo paints. And I think it came out really, really well. And I didn't film it because it was a bit of a faff. Trying to mix the colour, and yeah, anyway, I should have done. I think this is one of the best cowl rings I've ever painted. At this point then, we need to turn the monoplane into a biplane. The struts are standard for Airfix these days in that they are both front and rear struts are connected by this bit of plastic, which helps you make sure firstly you get it in the right way, but also that they are at the correct angle and that they're nice and sturdy. I chose to cut this excess bit of plastic off before sticking the wing on. I don't know if this is the right way of doing it, but I do know that you're going to need fairly long side cutters if you're going to try and glue the wing on first and then cut them off. So I chose to do it at this stage. So I know the angle is correct. They've been left for a few hours to dry, and then very, very gently sand those nibs away, and then try and put the top wing on. This is generally how I make my biplanes. I would always rather do them as a monoplane and then worry about struts afterwards. There's pros and cons to making it this way, but from my experience, this is what I'm more comfortable with, and that brings the construction to an end. Well, mostly. I obviously put the propeller blades on as well and painted them, but hey, I just didn't film that for whatever reason. Okay, so addressing the obvious point first, no, I did not put any rigging on this plane. Should I have done? I don't care, it's my plane. It is very it is very fiddly putting rigging on at the best of times, and this is a 1/72nd scale aircraft. It's not... I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's needed. Yes, absolutely, if you want to take this to the next level, chuck some rigging on it. I did think about it. I seriously considered it. And in the end, I thought, I just can't face it. I have recently rigged a 1/48th scale Tiger Moth, and that was fine. But at this scale, No, I just couldn't be bothered. The only other thing that I really wanted to mention is that I said one of the guns fell off. It did. I then put the gun back on and it then fell off again. So this was me filming it after the gun had fallen off for the second time. I don't know where it went. So the gun barrel on the starboard wing is missing in action. But oh well, it happens. Never mind. If I find it, I'll re-glue it. If not, I won't. Overall though, I am very happy with this. I think it looks really smart. In this scheme, we are a bit towards the tail end of the career of the Gladiator. I believe these aircraft would have been brown and green, and then the brown would have been oversprayed, so maybe it would have made more sense to have the green being quite worn and then the grey looking very unworn. But to me, I just wanted a Gladiator in this colour scheme, so that's what I have done. Very, very nice. There was almost no flash, no fit issues. It's just cut parts off sprue, get rid of any excess plastic, dry fit, yep, fine, boom, done. You could feasibly build this in a weekend and get a decent result. I also think the price is pretty good. I'm of the mentality that anything which is under a tenner is a bargain. So to be positioned a little bit above £10 does feel right in the current economy, and for a weekend's worth of enjoyable kit building, I do think it is reasonably priced. And I also quite like the fact that this is now over a decade old, as in the tooling, and yet it has no signs of flash or wear and tear in the same way that some other Airfix kits do. And maybe part of that is due to the new plastic, which I have noticed on kits like this, where I've got an older version as well. This does make it look better than it's ever been. So absolutely 2 thumbs up for Airfix for releasing this kit again in such beautiful form. And I kind of want to go out and buy another one so I can have a Norwegian Gladiator. And I never actually did make a Finnish Gladiator either, or a Swedish one. In fact, you could just have Gladiators everywhere. And on that note, I suppose I should go back to giving this a rating. So the 2024 release of the Airfix Gloster Gladiator in 1/72 scale, I give this a solid
Gladiators ready!
out of 10. Comments, opinions, do you like this finish? Do you like the kit in general? Do you think I've made an absolute mess of it? Do you like the Gladiator, or are you a horrible heathen that doesn't? Anything you want to say, down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, notification bell, all of that good stuff. And of course, if you subscribe, you can take part in future polls, and there's a reasonable chance I will even listen to the results, because I've learnt my lesson from last year where I just completely ignored everyone anyway and did whatever I wanted. But hey, that's my power. You could also become a channel member, and then are more likely to listen to you because they hold me accountable for stuff like this. Thank you very much to these people for contributing monthly at keeping this channel afloat, because Gladiators don't buy themselves no matter how much I try, and I keep putting them on my Christmas list, but I still don't keep getting Gladiators. So what's up with that, Santa? Where's my Gladiator? On that note, farewell. Hopefully see you in another video. I have plenty of kits that I've built that are just waiting for these videos to come out, so hopefully I will see you in another one of those. And until then, I hope you have a great continued existence. Farewell.